In the top results sets course for 2026. Ghanaian nurses boost Antigua and Barbuda healthcare, and India and EU agree landmark free trade deal. Midday is Tuesday. We do a for the break just now. In the top stories, Minister Duggins outlines 2025 results and sets course for 2026. Ghanaian nurses boost Antigua and Barbuda healthcare, and India and EU agree landmark free trade deal. Hello and welcome to today's ZIZ Midday Major Newscast. Today is Tuesday, the 27th day of January 2026, and I am Jasmine Thomas. Minister of Agriculture, Sports and Carnival Samuel Duggins says 2025 was a year of delivering results that people could see, feel and benefit from across his ministerial portfolios. Opening his fourth quarter press conference, Duggins highlighted strong performance in sport, agriculture, fisheries, small business, the creative economy and medicinal cannabis, with a focus on practical support, inclusion and economic impact. He pointed to record-breaking success for Sugar Mass 54, expanded support for entrepreneurs and farmers, major investments in food security, and the growing sports and cultural sector as key achievements. Duggins said the foundation laid in 2025 sets the stage for even greater delivery in 2026, with deeper access to capital, stronger institutions, and wider participation across all sectors. We'll have more from Minister Duggins' quarterly update, including details on sugar mass, agriculture, and sports development in this evening's newscast. St. Christopher and Nevis appeared before the United Nations Human Rights Council today to report on its human rights record. The Federation was represented by Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs, Attorney General Garth Wilkin, and Zilla Clark, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs. During the Universal Periodic Review, the delegation highlighted the progress made over the last 3 years in areas including access to justice, gender equality, protection from gender-based violence, social protection, and environmental rights. The other member states provided recommendations for further improvements, which the government of St. Christopher and Nevis will consider implementing through national mechanisms. The review, held in Geneva, Switzerland, is part of a peer review process where all UN member states assess each other's human rights records every 4.5 years. And St. Kitts and Nevis welcomed over 58,000 cruise passengers during the week beginning Sunday, 18th January. Officials said a total of 58,108 passengers arrived on 20 cruise ships between Sunday, January 18th and Saturday, 24th January 2026. Most of the vessels berthed at Port Zante, while others anchored in the Bastia roadstead and at Carambola. The majority of passengers and crew members disembarked, generating increased activity for taxi operators, tour providers, restaurants, craft vendors, and marine-based services. tourism stakeholders reported strong engagement from visitors who experienced the island's attractions and natural beauty. Officials noted that cruise passenger arrivals have been increasing steadily with support from cruise partners and industry stakeholders. While there were no inaugural calls during the week, the 2025 to 2026 cruise season is expected to include more than 20 inaugural ship visits. Tourism officials said the growth trend signals positive outlooks for further cruise seasons. And more than 100 nurses from Ghana have arrived in Antigua and Barbuda as part of a major recruitment drive to strengthen the country's healthcare system. The nurses will serve at the Sir Lester Bird Medical Center, community clinics, and within the mental health sector over the next 3 years. They were welcomed at the V.C. Bird International Airport by Health Minister Sir Malwin Joseph and other government officials. The arrival is described for the health sector, with the nurses undergoing a 3-week orientation program focusing on cultural integration, clinical alignment, and role-specific training before deployment. The addition of the Ghanaian to patient ratio and ensure community continuity of care across the island. Government officials hailed the recruitment as a positive step, drawing on successful experiences with Ghanaian nurses in other Caribbean countries. And still on the regional scene, Jamaica has recorded its lowest poverty rate in half a century, with figures from the Planning Institute of Jamaica showing a drop in 7.8% in 2024. The proportion of Jamaicans living in extreme poverty remained at 2.7%, the lowest level since 1989. Prime Minister Andrew Holness credited deliberate government policies on economic inclusion, education, skills training, and social support for this achievement. The United Nations Development Programme, which has been operating in Jamaica since 1976, hails its role in supporting their country's poverty eradication efforts. The UNDP notes that when it began operations, about 1 in 3 Jamaicans lived in extreme poverty. While celebrating the milestone, Holness emphasized that more work remains to ensure all Jamaicans have access to opportunities and pathways to prosperity. And now for a look at news on the international scene. India and the European Union have agreed on a comprehensive free trade agreement described by New Delhi as the mother of all deals after almost 2 decades of negotiations. The deal is said to create a massive economic partnership covering roughly 2 billion people and boost trade by removing barriers on the majority of goods moved between India and EU member states. Analysts say the agreement could significantly expand investment flows and deepen economic integration, though it still requires approval by both Indian and European parliamentary bodies. And people and leaders across the world paused on the 27th of January to observe International Holocaust Remembrance Day, honoring millions of victims of Nazi persecution during World War II. Ceremonies took place at historic sites, including Auschwitz-Birkenau in Poland and the Memorial to the Murdered Jews of Europe in Berlin, where survivors, dignitaries, and families laid wreaths and called for unity against today's rising anti-Semitism. European and global leaders used the occasion to remind the international community of the dangers of hate, denial, and misinformation. And now for a look at the weather. Present weather across St. Kitts and Nevis: partly cloudy skies with slight dust haze. Winds a moderate breeze of 14 miles per hour from the east with gusts of up to 35 miles per hour. Seas 0.9 to 1.8 meters or 3 to 6 feet. The weather today: partly sunny with a 20% or slight chance of passing showers. Tonight, partly cloudy with a 30% or a low chance of showers. Sunset this evening will be at approximately 6 o'clock, and sunrise tomorrow morning is expected to be at around 15 minutes before 7. That brings us to the end of the Midday Major Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jasmine Thomas. God bless you.